and welcome to a what sold video. This is everything that sold for me on eBay from November 15th to November 21st, and eBay is the only platform I had sales on, so that's why it's the only platform I'm talking about. Well, technically that's not true because I was also doing whatnots, but that's going to be in a separate video, and that's going to cover everything that I sold on whatnot with that bins experiment. So the first item I have to show you is this new Samuel Beckett book. I picked a bunch of brand new books at the Restore in Newport News for 10 cents each. So that is why I decided to pick this up, is because super cheap and brand new means that I could charge $10.87 for this, which is what it sold for. So I made $5 off of this, and I saved a vintage book from going in the trash. These I bought a very long time ago. I just finally got them listed. It is a set of fluted champagne crystal d'Arcs. It's a French crystal maker. I was able to find the exact style by going onto replacements.com. Replacements.com is not necessarily a great website to get comps off of. It can be, but it's a great resource if you are just starting to resell glass and pottery to maybe find what the exact pattern name is. They do not have an exhaustive list, but they do have a pretty solid list, especially if you already know the maker. So, sold for $24. I paid $8 for the set at Goodwill an exceptionally long time ago. I just, again, finally got around to listing them. I've finally cleared out enough space, enough hard goods have sold out of my cabinet that I keep them in, that I can finally start listing them again, because I have them in banker's boxes stored safely until I made more space. So that is that situation. Another brand new book, I paid 10 cents for this at that buyout, sold for $12.64. This is an Anne Bronte book. This is a Rafter C Pearl Snap. It sold for $12.50. Of course, the buyer paid for shipping. I love buying and reselling pearl snaps. Sales were a little slow, so I accepted an offer. So the next piece is a vintage Structure piece, and Structure used to be its own store brand. So there was Express, which was only a women's brand, and then there was Structure, which was only a men's brand. And then when Express wanted to start doing menswear, they actually bought the Structure brand. Normally the two stores were next to each other, and then they kicked the wall down, and so then it was Structure on one side, Express on another side. And then they decided to just turn Structure into Express Men's, and so the brand Structure went away. And then what they ended up doing is that once it was like, okay, well, Express makes men's clothing now, is they actually sold off the Structure brand, I think, to a big box department store. I'm sure Editing Bob will put which one it is. So it is still a brand, I believe. Most vintage Structure you find is going to be a pre-merger with Express, or like during the merger with Express. So I knew this was a vintage piece from the 90s. You just get a feel for it after a while. There are like a bunch of different markers that indicate that. This sold for $13. I believe I picked this up at a thrift store. So I paid $5.25 for this. Sold it for $13. Is that brand knowledge you really need to know if you're not interested in selling vintage? No, but I saw this. The reason why I actually picked it up is because it was green and it had a ditzy floral print, and I knew it was vintage, so I believed that I could sell it. And now just a reminder that if you do get these vintage 90s pieces for men, the loose baggy fit, which is so popular right now because 90s and Y2K is in, you do have to be very clear that it is a loose baggy fit in multiple places, because despite having it in the title and despite having it in the description, people don't read stuff, and I've had people state that it was too big for them, but that was the point of the style at that time. So you just be mindful that some people don't read, and just be prepared for that. You will get at least one return if you start selling loose 90 fit baggy clothes where someone will complain that it didn't fit them because it was too big. Another one of the Devon Cow sales. I picked a bunch of these ornaments up at the Restore in Williamsburg. These came from the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation. For when you donate a certain amount of money, they send you a free ornament every year. And I guess they had a bunch of leftovers from certain years, so they gave them all to the Restore. I bought them all for $1 each, and when I sell them, I just give the profits back to the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation because I love it. So sold it for $4, buyer paid for shipping, and I got to make a tiny little donation to the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation. I talked to you in the last What Sold video that you were going to start seeing a bunch of fig sales, and that's because I found a bunch of them. It was like right place, right time, perfection. So this was a set of figs in black. These were men's in a size large. The top was the Leon top, and these were more recent, so they actually said that it was the Leon style. I didn't realize that it was in the style tag until after I did all the research, and then I felt dumb that it said it in the label. Again, the older versions will not have it. They'll just have the style code. But the newer ones will say it in the label with the material tag. So it was a Leon top and a pair of Pisco bottoms, and I made sure to put the top name as the primary name in the set because people are more likely looking for the top and not necessarily looking for the bottom style. So sold for $35. I paid $11 for the set. Trying to remember how much I paid for like each piece. So $11 for the set. Happy to do that. I immediately sold this. So I listed it, it sold the next day. Perfection. This is a 70s piece. This is a men's size small, so even these tiny men's vintage pieces can sell if you are willing to wait for the right buyer. This actually picked up recently at an estate sale. I paid $2 for it and it sold for $13.50. I know this is from the 70s because of the tag, and then also because of the long spear point collar. Now there were long spear point collars in the 60s as well. The shaping is different. In the 60s they had the long spear point collar, but they were, I don't know how to describe it, they were like straight down or they were like loopy, they were like swoopy, to go with like that mod go-go style, versus in the 70s they got a little bit, some of them got a little bit shorter, but then they started to sit like a normal point collar. They were just longer. Again, you don't need to know that unless you're interested in selling vintage, but I am just really bad at not info dumping on people. So I told you guys that I promised that I would talk about when I sold bin stuff from that experiment that I had set aside to offset the cost. So I talked about in my last Bronco update that I had made up some of my own rules. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will link it up above. But I decided in November, if you are new here, to do an experiment to kind of like get used to selling on Whatnot again, get closer to hitting that 1,000 seller goal, to go to the bins. Everything that I bought at the bins would be available for sale. I would do lives on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I would go to the bins twice, I would do a live show twice, and then all of that money would go to my Bronco fund. Now, none of the shows sold out, so I still have a bunch of inventory that I need to list. So the reason why I felt that it was okay for me to put all that money towards the Bronco and still count it as free inventory is because, one, I didn't think I would sell out, which I didn't. If I did sell out, I probably would have shoved the money that I paid for that lot off and taken it out of the total and then used the rest for the Bronco fund and then just done it that way. But I knew that wasn't going to happen because I hadn't sold clothing on Whatnot since I started selling on Whatnot in like December of 2021. And you are getting way more information in this video. I'm gonna have to be like, I get too chatty while I do my what solds or something in the title. For each time I went to the bins, I held back one item I knew would cover the bins cost. Or I picked up shoes because I was like, I don't know how to sell pre-owned shoes on Whatnot. That just feels odd to me. I don't know why. I'm perfectly happy to do it on eBay, but I think it's because I clean them. I mean, I still clean the clothes and I would have still cleaned the shoes. I don't know. How about you all give me your feedback? Like, do you buy pre-owned shoes on Whatnot? I know most of the people that were buying from me, like half of them seemed to be buying it for stuff for themselves and half of them were other resellers like getting cheap inventory, which was 100% what I was trying to do there because my bins prices are so cheap. But the shoes separated, so I felt if I sold all the shoes, I mean, it wouldn't matter. I would get all my money back anyway, but I would always hold back one item from the bins trip that I thought would pay for the whole haul. So my hauls from the bins trips were between $30 and $50 if I bought shoes that you guys didn't get to see. But I sold this item which came from the video where I found all that Tommy Bahama. And it's the first time finding this bolo brand. The only reason I know about this brand is because it was in Matt's Menswear Manifesto, which I highly recommend. It is a free / pay what you want resource. He is going to probably be releasing a video soon, updating it to the 5th version of the Menswear Manifesto. So if you want to like maybe, I mean, I don't know, if you want to like maybe just check out the 4th one and see if you like it, and then like throw him a few bones when he releases the 5th one, I think he'd be fine with that. But I will link that down below as well, and hopefully I'll do it in a pinned comment. But it is amazing. You will absolutely, like, I feel like if you threw him like 20 bucks, you would absolutely make that the first time you went thrifting and were able to find a couple pieces from this list. But Roback is the first time I found this brand. I found it at the bins. I managed to come across a bin that was fresh donations, and nobody at my bins wants to actually like dig to the bottom, which is part of why I like doing that. And it was a bin that nobody wanted to deal with anymore, and at the very bottom was a fresh donation of a whole bunch of extra large Tommy Bahama shirts, FootJoy, and this polo. Roback is a golf brand, and this sold on an offer, accepted an offer the day after I listed it for $58. So yeah, that definitely paid for my thrift haul that day for sure. So that is why I said, like, I'm making up the rules. It's my own rules, but this is why I felt like that was okay, because I held this piece back knowing that this one shirt would definitely pay for my haul that day. So sold for $58. Super excited to find the bolo brand. I didn't think, honestly, I would ever find this brand unless maybe I found it like in a closet in Williamsburg. But I definitely did not expect it to find it at the Hampton bins. So this is an amazing sale. I will, hopefully Editing Bob will put a picture of what the brand tag looks like so you guys can see it. But this has insane sell-through, like over 400% sell-through rate. And it sells consistently for over $50. So this is definitely a brand to look out for. This is a thank you to Melissa. Melissa bought this lovely tin from me. It's a framed piece from Colonial Williamsburg. It's a little tin folk art piece, and it was a 7 by 7 3/4, or 7 3/4 framed little tin type, like punch tin. And Melissa, thank you. She said it's gonna go with the other print that I've got from you. She bought, I believe, last Thriftmas 2 little bunny prints from me. So she has like this very like cottagecore, like vintage folksy aesthetic that absolutely I love. So Melissa, I hope you love it hanging in your house with the other ones, and I really appreciate you watching my videos and from purchasing from me. It means a lot. She bought it for $14.87. So again, Melissa, thank you. Those of you that did watch my Whatnot shows from the Bins experiment in November will be sad to know that I did sell the Boston album. I would, you know, give my Whatnot audience a couple of choices to what record to listen to, and they would always choose this Boston album, but now they can't because it did sell for my full asking price of $14.87. I paid $2 for this at that big Goodwill buyout that I did. All right, this next item is actually a viewer sale as well, but it is a viewer primarily on my book channel that has decided to support me here as well. They have their own book channel as well, which I of course will link down below for you to peruse if you're interested in. They wanted to read this book as well because it was recommended to them from another author / booktuber. So Rob, it was super sweet of you to buy this from me. This is New Country Girl, it was a new copy of A Country Girl, a memoir. And again, I paid 10 cents for this at that big book buyout. So Rob, again, thank you so much for your support. I hope you are enjoying the reading experience, and it just makes me, it gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling. So Rob, I appreciate it. This is from that big vintage buyout that I did. This is from Pendleton. It is a 2-button blazer. And this is basically pure profit because I've already paid myself back, and then some, and then a lot of some from that big vintage buyout where I paid $100 for basically 400 pieces of vintage clothing. Insane buy. That is probably, you know, 2/3 listed now. I still have like a whole rack right here of stuff to list, but I only have one side of the rack to list instead of two sides and in another closet. So I'm getting there. Sold for $27.90, and yeah, it's a great buy. A little overwhelming, but a great buy. This is a charger plate. This is 16 1/4. Sold for $15, and the buyer paid $13.95 to ship this, but it went to California, unfortunately for me, because I actually ended up losing money. Well, not losing money. I didn't make very much money off of this sale. I paid $2 for the plate, and then I paid $18 to ship this. So did I save a vintage piece of restaurant ware from going in the garbage? Yes. This sale is the definition of a perfect buyer. This individual is just the nicest, so nice. They sent me an offer. Actually, I send out offers to watchers for 20% off. I had 3 of these glasses, and they were like, hey, I would love to buy this, but I want a quantity of, I want all of them at this price. And I was like, okay, well, just send me an offer and I'll accept it, because they already accepted the offer for one. And so they sent me an offer for the other ones. What I didn't realize is that it was an international buyer. So eBay wanted me to ship the one glass to them and then ship the other 2 glasses to them. They didn't allow me to put it together into one shipment. So it's like, I'm so sorry, I did not realize you were an international buyer. This happens at least like once a year, where I don't ask the question before I do that. Like, are you international? Before they ask me questions, I should always ask, are you an international buyer? Because that always changes how things work. So I didn't ask this time, which again happens once a year, and I was like, look, I'm so sorry. Because they were like, oh my God, the shipping is ridiculous. The reason why you're getting 2 shipping charges is because you're getting the shipping charge that I'm charging to send it to eBay, or to send it to a buyer if they were locally in the United States. And then eBay is charging you an additional amount to deal with customs and processing it internationally. So that is why it seems like a lot, because you're getting 2 packages. And they're like, so what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to cancel the order, and then I can actually create a brand new listing for all 3 glasses at the price that we agreed on, and then all 3 will come to you at the same time, and the shipping charge should be half as much as what they're asking for right now. And he was like, okay, I will do that. And they did. They literally, like, I did the whole thing. Now, I know that there are people that have done this before, where they had like a super responsive customer and you're bending over backwards for them to get the sale, and then like it just goes, they just disappear when you do the final thing, and it doesn't work out. This is someone who is super communicative, very kind, super understanding, and then immediately paid for it as soon as I set up the thing. I was like, okay, here's the new listing with the price we agreed upon, immediately paid for it, and already left me positive feedback. So, I mean, this, like I said, the perfect buyer. I really hope they enjoy the glasses, and I really want more experiences like this. I don't want the effort that I had to go through for this, but this is a perfect experience with an eBay buyer. Super chatty, this What's Sold video. Hope you guys are still watching. If you are, thank you so much. This is another figs set, again with the Leon top and the Pisco bottoms. And you can see that I do this square, which really does make my listing stand out. I've noticed that I am like the only one that does this. Most of the time I either see people like just kind of like folding the pants in that V shape and then putting the top on top of it. I don't know, it just looks nicer to me. What I do is I have the front and the back of both pieces, and I do this like little alternating grid, and I do this in a free app. I think at least it's free on the iOS, as far as I'm sure, if you like have an Apple iPhone. It's for Instagram, but it works great, and I think it looks great. And I've used this for more than just, you know, clothing sets. I've also used it for Uranian glass, like if I'm trying to show it by itself versus when it's glowing. That also, I think, sets my listing apart. Again, you do you, but it's a free app if you have an Apple iPhone, and I do really think it makes your listing pop. Sold for $40.38. Again, I paid $11 for the set. So amazing. This is a pair of Bowden shoes. I've never found the shoes before, so this was very exciting. This is definitely my style. I think Victoria's mentioned that before. She's like, I know Bob would love these shoes whenever she finds them like that. Or I think she's got one in a thredUP box or something. I don't know. But she's like, I know Bob would love these. And they are my style of shoes. I actually have 2 pairs similar styles, but they're from American Duchess. These sold for $25. I found these at the Goodwill retail store next to the bins. Again, whenever I go to the bins, I always go to the retail and do a quick loop. Even if I've been there already that week, you never know, because this is a high volume thrift. And I found these, so I paid $8 for them, and they sold lightning fast for $25. And then the last item I have for you is one of the ones that I actually sold right after I relisted it, after I took a photo of it on Karen. So this is a vintage sweater, very cottagecore floral. It is an Angora blend, which is rabbit fur if you did not know. And I was like, all right, well, it's a silk Angora blend, so I know it's valuable enough. I do believe this 100% will sell. It just needs to like be on Karen. As soon as I relisted it with a photo on Karen, it sold that day. And it sold on an offer for $18, and the buyer paid for shipping, and I paid $5 for this at a thrift store. So that is everything. I hope, again, you guys enjoyed this very chatty what's sold video, and I hopefully will see you guys in the next video. Until then, bye! Bye.